Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, yesterday I was watching YouTube and I was checking out Talib Kweli's interview on Vlad TV. And I just want to share some of my thoughts about that interview. During that interview, he was asked about this ADOS movement and his critique of that movement. And as you all know, Talib Kweli has had battles with the ADOS movement on Twitter mainly, but he's also written an article highly critical of the ADOS movement, and I've done a video on that particular article. And as you all know, I oppose the ADOS movement for a wide range of reasons. I've done multiple videos on this subject. If I get a chance, I'll post links in the card so that you all can check those out if you are not familiar with those particular videos. But during this interview with Vlad TV, a wide range of things came up. Vlad TV talked about his own issues with the ADOS movement. Like a while ago, he put out some tweet where he was talking about the issue of reparations, and he came under fire by a lot of these ADOS people. They were trolling him, and he basically said that they trolled him harder than some of these fans of certain celebrities that he's been critical of. So, I just want to share some of my thoughts about this interview. Like, one thing that came up during this interview is whether or not Vlad TV is a culture vulture. And Talib Kweli came to the conclusion that at sometimes Vlad TV can operate like a culture vulture, but he did not want to just rule Vlad TV as a culture vulture. And I just want to state my position on this. Obviously Vlad TV is a culture vulture. And by culture vulture, we're talking about non-black people who prosper and profit off of black culture and black entertainment. Here you have a guy who, primarily interviews black artists, black entertainers. His audience is primarily black. This is a man who is white, who's making money off of black culture. Just like Elvis made money off of black culture and others have made money off of black culture. He's a continuation of that whole trend or thing that has happened in our community where you had these non-black people prospering on black culture. They're the managers, they're the owners of the record labels, they're the owners of the movie studios, they're the owners of these football teams and baseball teams and basketball teams that we play on. So our culture and our abilities often get exploited to the profit of people who don't look like us, people who are not of our group. These people prosper off of our talent, off of black talent. And for that reason, I have to say that he is a culture vulture because this guy primarily focuses on black culture and black, people. And then on top of that, this guy often presents a negative image of black people by constantly highlighting people like, porn stars, people who engage in criminality. He has some kind of fascination with people that have a criminal background. He likes to glamorize it and, hype it up. So he is a culture vulture. With that being said, he does provide a lot of interviews that unfortunately a lot of black outlets are not able to for some reason on YouTube. Like, I'm not familiar with any other YouTube channel where they are constantly interviewing, celebrities that are, sought after and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this guy has interviews with all kinds of major rap artists and actors and all kinds of stuff. I'm not familiar with any other channel on YouTube that's similar to that. So for that reason, and the other reasons I stated, man, this guy is a culture vulture. So that's one point of disagreement that I have with Kweli. Now, the other issue that they brought up was this issue about whether or not white people can even talk about reparations. Because this guy, Vlad TV, basically said that when he put out his tweet about reparations, all these old ADOS people tried to shut him down and basically say, well, you can't even talk about reparations. You're a Ukrainian or, Russian or whatever. This is not your conversation. And to me, I think that that's an idiotic position. I think, first of all, if you are going to seek reparations, you're going to need non-black people to be behind that effort because we only make up 13% of the population. Black people alone are not going to be enough to get reparations passed, and that's what people don't understand. Reparations is a political action. As they discussed during this interview, in order to have reparations, political action needs to take place. You need legislation to make that happen. In order to pass legislation, you need to build a coalition that consists of, white people, Latino people, other people that are non-black, because we only make up, again, 13% of the population. So, obviously you need allies in order to get reparations. And those allies, those people that are interested in reparations, obviously should be free to talk about reparations. Just like we talk about electoral politics, I don't think that one's identity should be able to limit what they are qualified to speak about. If someone has knowledge in an area, they can obviously talk about that area. There are plenty of non-black people, for instance, who are participants in the civil rights movement, who are, civil rights attorneys who do more for black people than some black people actually do. So this notion that because somebody is non-black that somehow they're disqualified from talking about reparations is absurd and ridiculous. So that's one thing. Another thing that was brought up during this interview is this whole ADOS movement and its emphasis on American identity over everything. Many of these ADOS people who were formerly, professed black nationalists, people who used to have the red, black, and green as their symbol of pride, their symbol of black unity, their symbol of black nationhood. These people have thrown that into the dustbin. They have thrown that into the trash and replaced it with the American flag. These are supposed to be militant people, supposed to be black nationalists, supposed to be anti-establishment, but yet and still these are the same people who have embraced the flag of the United States of America as their symbol. To me, that just exposes, it's one of the problems with this movement. And then also it's this disconnect from the motherland of Africa, where we all come from. They have completely disconnected from Africa and they have embraced the land of their captivity and their enslavement. And I just think that that's sad and pathetic. I mean, they have renounced Africa and Pan-Africanism, as I've pointed out time and time again. Another problem with this movement, as Kweli brought up during this discussion, is this whole anti-immigrant nonsense that has absolutely nothing at all to deal with reparations. They have basically hijacked the reparations movement. What you have in this ADOS movement is a white supremacist funded front organization is really an anti-immigrant group masquerading as some pro-black reparations movement. All this anti-black immigrant rhetoric is counterproductive. It doesn't serve the interests of any fight for reparations. All this anti-immigrant nonsense and mumble jumble has absolutely nothing to do with reparations. But yet and still, this movement has so-called black militants more focused on hating immigrants than actually bringing about the kind of change that we need to see. More focused on hating immigrants than actually trying to do something to make HR 40 become law. In fact, these people have no respect for the actual reparations movement that has been working for decades to bring about reparations in this country. They crap on those who are actually trying to put forth legislation to pave the way towards reparations. So anyway, those are some of my thoughts about Talib Kweli's interview with VladTV. I'll post a link to that interview in the description box. I'm sure there are going to be more segments to the discussion on VladTV because it seemed like this was more of an introduction. So I will continue to follow the interview and provide my commentary. I'm sure they're going to get into issues about the funding behind, the ADOS movement, the fact that you got one of the co-founders being a member of an anti-immigrant group that's funded by white supremacists. And you've seen my prior videos on that. So, look forward to my future videos about this Talib Kweli interview on Vlad TV. Peace and blessings, everyone. Please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video, hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content here. Peace.